Good morning, everyone. This is the second in a series of the Pro Landscaper online summits. The first one, we concentrated on the large-scale domestic and commercial build. Today, we have a complete cross-section of industry experts from different parts of the industry. I'm delighted with the panel. We do cover, as I say, all aspects of landscaping. We've got landscapers, designers, landscape architects, maintenance, to build domestic and commercial, so a complete cross-section. So I'm going to ask all the panellists one by one to introduce themselves in a bit more detail, explain a little bit about the current situation, the number of staff, the type of work, are they actually still working, have your teams on site if it's relevant to you, have you furloughed anyone yet? So I'm going to start, if I can then, with Paul. Paul, if you kick off.
Hi everybody, my name is Paul Cowell. I run PC Landscapes Design and Build. We've got about 12 guys, and like at the moment none of us are working. This is our third week in shutdown, and where with the only people that are working are us designers remotely, working on the current projects that we've got to just complete on and get through, so that we can hopefully come out of this in a smoother transition than what I'm hoping, really. But yeah, no, we're currently all in shutdown. Okay, Holly?
Hi everyone. We've got 25 staff. We've furloughed everyone bar 4 of us. We've still got one project running, which is actually running with a subcontractor. And it's an extension to a cemetery, so they actually want us to continue with that. Yeah, we're obviously not working on site at all at the moment, but still designing.
Okay, Tom?
Hi, yes, of the 106 full-time employees, we've got 73 have been furloughed. 30 are working, predominantly for our utility clients, because they are working on the water company sites, both Thames and Affinity Water, and all our farm work, and some of our forestry work is continuing, but really hardly at all. Farm work is, and we had 3 people already off before that.
Okay, Helen, slightly different for you.
Yeah, hi. So I have a really small practice, so it's me and one other. I was currently was mid-recruiting actually when the coronavirus sort of hit, so sort of put that on hold sort of a few weeks before the lockdown. So actually everything was, we were just sort of sinking in work really. So I furloughed one of the guys. I also used remote CAD technicians, and so that's all stopped. We had 5 builds on when the lockdown happened. 4 of those have stopped completely. They've been mothballed. One is continuing, but it's tricky. What we're also finding as well is that we had a lot of bespoke joinery work out that was being done. They run out of material, so that's all sort of stopping. So that's the sort of construction side of things is difficult, and most of it has stopped. All the design work is finished, is continuing. But we've also had some clients who have postponed their design work because they're not sure what their financial situation is going to be in, and also just because a lot of the design processes, actually, we have quite a lot of interaction, and clients are choosing not to do that via Zoom.
Perfect. Tim?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So we've got about 800 people working all over the UK in the business. About 130 of those are office-based support people, and very early on we got those all working from home, and that seems to be working very successfully. Most of our teams are still operating out on sites. We do have some shutdowns on sites. We have some people that aren't working for one reason or another, but we have had the opportunity to redeploy people or create some flexible working teams to keep our people working. So I would say the vast majority of our people are still out there working, an amazing team. Our management team have become very adept at crisis management, so that's something to add onto their CV. So sort of daily calls, and the morning is taken up by conference calls and planning and making sure that we're keeping in touch with our people and our customers to make sure everybody's fully informed and we know what our customers want and what our people need to keep them working safely.
Richard? Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Richard Kay from Green Tech. We've currently got 87 employees, and we've currently got 57 which are furloughed. We've got a skeleton crew in at work consisting of 26 people, 4 on our websites taking orders, 8 in the warehouse, 12 in the offices spread around, 2 or 3 in our country store, and 4 sales personnel working from home remotely, which is working quite well. So we're busy-ish supplying online orders. We run a couple of websites which supply medical products for horses and dogs and pets. We've got a country store which is operating, and also we've got some key deliveries going out to key landscapers across the country, which are sort of working on tier 1 contracts which they can't shut down. It's just generally supplying to anybody who wants anything at the moment to keep our customers happy.
Okay, and David, then, if you want to do both your businesses, it'd be interesting to see the difference.
Yeah, we've got all the staff bar myself and Mark, the sites and shows manager, are furloughed. So, and that was progressive. All the site staff closed down a couple of weeks ago, and then the management design side of business, that's all had to progressively be reduced. We've had Pots and Pithoi, on the other hand, and what we're dealing with a lot of the aftermath of Chelsea. That's why I've had to keep some staff on to help sort that out. We've had Pots and Pithoi with the cafes obviously closed, the gift shops closed, so we're closed to the public, but we are still selling online, and there's only 2 staff running that there. So 1 doing back office and 1 in the yard doing the palleting and getting the deliveries out. So that's going. That's actually going surprisingly very well. So it's it's very contrasting, the 2 different.
Just yesterday we done a very quick research and we got 250 responses quite quickly. And I'm not sure these statistics could stand up to too much scrutiny, but I will just share what it is. So we asked people if they're still working, and we said we split it into different categories. So grounds maintenance, 70% of the people responded are still working in that category. Garden design, 77.5% are still working. Domestic landscaping, which was the biggest drop of all, only 31% of the people in that sector are still working. Suppliers, it says 79%, but there are some limitations. Commercial landscaping, 61.5%. Landscape architects, they said 100% of them are still working. I guess easy to do from home and what they're doing. And arborists, 100%. But one of the things that came out of it, it'd be interesting to get your take on it, is the people that are working on the ground are getting quite a bit of abuse from public people saying you shouldn't be working. I don't know if Tom, you got anything to come back on that? Have any of your staff heard anything or seen anything?
Yes, very much so. We felt very uncomfortable about having people carrying out grounds maintenance and tree surgery, potentially local authorities, outside people living in flats and not being able to leave when they can clearly see that the works aren't essential. Whilst our arboricultural industries had an open letter to the fact that work can carry on for people that can't work at home, we just don't feel very comfortable about it. So our grounds maintenance teams are doing bare minimum, and our arboricultural teams have stopped altogether except for our work for the water companies.
Okay, Tim, any of your staff report anything back on that?
Certainly not any abuse. I'm not aware of anything around that at all. I think there is a public perception around whether cutting grass is essential. But that's not all we do. You know, we do a lot more than that. So I think we are out there as an industry looking after some critical services, making sure their sites are still maintained, kept safe, kept clean, kept hygienic. So no, certainly no abuse, and I'm comfortable with what we're doing and the approach that we're taking.
Okay, Richard, in terms of, you said you're still supplying. What is it? One sector more than the other? Is the domestic sector quiet and the commercial one busy? What's all busier? How's it breaking where your work is or your product supply?
Up until last week, we were supplying quite a bit of stuff into London, but I think that was made to get some jobs finished off. But we've got a lot of chemicals going out, a lot of grass seed, a lot of fertiliser, which sort of fits in with the level of ground maintenance that's being done. We've got selling hay all over the country for the horsey fraternity, believe it or not. A lot of worming products for the horsey website we have. But generally, we've still got tree planting materials going out, not like it was before 3 weeks ago, but certainly people completing jobs. So we've got a full suite of products going out, albeit it's sort of 60% of our summer predicted turnover, but it's come 2 months early.
And Paul, where you saying that you've pulled back then? Was that your choice, client's choice? And I guess
it was one. We've got several clients, some of which are just wanting us to carry on. We were in a slight predicament because we were about to start on one site and we were just awaiting the final planning decision. And then we actually started on the site, and then we went into lockdown and we couldn't then suddenly get any material deliveries. So although it's a 12-acre job, we could have easily socially distanced and the guys were in diggers, dumpers and easily spread out, would have been quite a nice little project to carry on with. We just couldn't get the delivery, so we just had to stop. I think the other thing that, as people have mentioned, is there was also that social stigma that people felt as though they should be stopping. And so we kind of took that moral decision to say, well, we're going to stop for this initial 3 weeks and then review. And obviously we now know that this review is not really going to happen until mid next week, until the SAGE kind of COBRA meeting has happened. So we won't know any more until then. And so, yeah, with all our other projects, we'd had a slow January and February because although we had 3 projects on, it had been a terrible 2 months purely because of flooding and the water. So it had been really dragged its feet for us this year. So we had to stop. So that's what the decision that we've taken is we've stopped. We just had a few little items to finish off on a few little projects which we did, but that was like days work for one guy, so they could easily go down. Apart from that, they're all done really. But we're just waiting to kick back off, and we've even tried to on that larger project just to see if we can get alternative deliveries from different suppliers. But again, there was nothing happening, so that we could potentially keep a crew going. But again, that's not happened.
Sorry about that. I think it was my mum said she prefers me without a beard. Holly, how have your staff reacted, and how much have you sort of taken into consideration their own sort of principles in terms of yes, they should work, no, they shouldn't work, or how have you sort of worked that?
We're just keeping in regular contact with them. I think they were relieved generally to be furloughed because things were getting quite tense up towards the lockdown. Most of the jobs we carry out on site, it's so hard to socially distance. So we just had to take the decision that we just couldn't physically carry out the majority of the works we needed to do on site. And then getting materials became an issue. There's literally none of our regular builders merchants are open up here. We were trying to get mesh the other day for the project that we're on, and we can't get it delivered for 2 weeks from one supplier that's open that we've never even heard of. So we're just trying to do the best we can on that and get what we can.
David, what about you and the staff then, in terms of ones wanting to work and not wanting to work, and I guess in London travelling on public transport, etc.?
Yeah, we stopped working in London. We've got a couple of maintenance projects up there, but we've spoken to the clients. They're absolutely fine with it. We had a staff meeting And my daughter was ill, so I was actually self-isolating before the rest of the staff finished. But they had a staff meeting, and it was more the social responsibility. None of them were shirking. We've got some lovely projects on at the moment. They all wanted to work, but they took the decision, and then I finally took the decision. They wanted to get this over and done with as quickly as possible. It was going to happen one way or another. And we then took the decision, actually, do you know what, let's just do the right thing, get off site. I think you look on social media, some companies have been getting real stick for this, and I don't think that anyone has got the right to make a judgment over what another company does. If it's right for them and they can social distance, that's absolutely fine. But we took the decision, let's just keep let's minimise any risk whatsoever. You know, we don't know enough about this. This is the word's been bandied around a lot, but this is so unprecedented that we just said, right, let's just stay indoors, do the right thing, and stay away from work, and reduce any risk of spreading this around.
Okay. I don't know if any of you tuned in to the one we done a couple of days ago, and John Melmo, who used to run Willoughby's, felt that the industry has completely and utterly overreacted, and we should all get back to work, and as long as we follow the guidelines and the safety lines, and especially on the larger construction sites. And it also looks like the government are trying to push and promote construction to go back to work, and then some more guidelines came out yesterday about it. I don't know, Tom, what's your thoughts on this? Did we overreact, and should we be pushing to go back to work quicker?
Hi, Jim. It's a very good point. What we see in business and what we hear on the news are two completely different things. We have our agricultural side, that's obviously key, and our water companies as well, which is very clear. But our boriculture and construction have both basically been advised to continue. I'm in regular contact with our MP, and he is incredibly surprised how many people we've furloughed. The reality is that I know Tim hasn't said that he's had a problem with it. We really have. First of all, from a PR perspective, it really looks poor. People have been taking photographs of us on site where we've had teams working and showing real unhappiness about the fact that we've been continuing in certain areas, even when we've got permits to do so. But also, the lads themselves, they're not that happy about being out. They want to look after their families. And thirdly, we don't have the number of vehicles. We've got a fleet of about 60 vehicles, and we couldn't have everybody back if we wanted them to, because to carry out the social distancing correctly, unless they already live together, where we've got a few fathers and sons that do, but otherwise they've got to travel around in separate vehicles in order to feel comfortable and for us to carry out as per our risk assessment. So we couldn't operate at full strength even if we wanted to, but it does seem a bit more than it should. We're a bit more overly conscious probably than we should be.
Okay, Tim?
Yeah, so I don't think an overreaction. I think the unprecedented word again. You know, people had to make their own choices, and we all had to make decisions very quickly, which is probably a new skill that we can all take into the future. In terms of vehicles, we took a decision to operate solo teams, and we've had the ability to do that. And it did amaze me the amount of father and son teams we had as well, actually, who could work together, which was great. So that works well. The latest government guidance says if you need people to work in a vehicle to drive around with the window open, and then sort of take additional hygiene measures. I think that's going to be very hard to do. Okay, it's a lot warmer where I am today, and having the window open would be great, but it just doesn't feel that practical. So, you know, we've put our teams mostly in working out on their own. We've trained them and given them guidance on additional hygiene and social distancing. They don't interact with anybody. I'm very conscious about social media and people taking photographs of teams of people working together. So where we have split teams and provided additional vehicles, we're giving additional instructions to our people to make sure they completely avoid that situation so we don't get the negative press, which as an industry we don't want.
Helen, what's your feeling about overreaction and how the industry is reacting to it?
I don't. Well, it's difficult to know because I'm not a medic whether there is an overreaction or not. Certainly, we see cases around here. I mean, one of my clients is very ill with it, so definitely the virus is out and about and doing. You know, it's not just in London; it is definitely sort of across the country. It's difficult. We had a site where we had a lot of very large trees were supposed to be going in, and they're more than they're a 2-person lift at a minimum. Clearly, the guys couldn't have done that safely, and that's true of lots of construction. So I think it's in a very I think the industry is in a very difficult position. I think there are, and I've spoken to the contractors that we work with. The sort of general feeling is that there are plenty of tasks that they could do safely, but there are some that they can't, and that it is a very mixed situation. But because of this issue of how that is perceived, most of the contractors that I know have decided to, well, that and the problems with supply, most people have decided to withdraw from site. So I think the industry is in a very difficult situation. It's very interesting. We had tree surgeons booked in to do some work. There's one of the trees on site is not in a good state. It needs to come down. That all got stopped. The Arb Association have been in discussions with the government, and the government have now given very clear guidance that that can go ahead. And it's interesting that we've now had those same Arb companies who previously were saying, okay, we're not going to carry on with the work, have come back this week and said, okay, following advice, we will go on site. So I think one of the difficulties is that unless there is really clear and public guidance from government, so that I mean, they're in a difficult situation, but in the absence of clear guidance, I think that for a lot of people will stay home because they're worried about their health and they're worried about how it will be perceived.
So Tom, are you feeling pressure, especially on the Arb side of it, to go back to work? And are you getting pressure from your clients?
With regards to our local authority clients, the Arboricultural Association briefing note or guidance note changed, and so we sent it to our local authority clients and said, this is the current position, but ultimately this is your call and your reputation. How do you feel? And all of the local authorities that we represent have said, we're still content with our position of you not being there unless emergency works or priority one works are being done, then we'd rather you not be on site.
There's a question that's just coming saying that this company is getting a pressure from their clients to go back to work. Domestic landscaping projects, they've furloughed all their staff that are on lockdown, but they've got this moral decision between a business one and looking after their staff. I don't know if, David, you'd like to come back on what advice you'd give on that situation.
Yeah, I'm reading these. I don't think that, I've just replied to another one saying that some clients may well try and take advantage. We went to look, well, no, I personally went to look at a job with an architect last Monday, and he pointed out that the client is keen to use a contractor that can get on with it as soon as possible. Now, what that means, I don't know, but reading between the lines, he wants someone who's prepared to work, sort of start immediately. Now, I'm not being pressured like that. I don't think anyone should feel pressured by clients to go back to work if they think that they're doing the right thing in looking after their families and staying at home. So it is a dilemma for people. I'm really feeling for. I didn't realise, looking into this and having spoken to a lot of other contractors over this, how fragile we are as an industry, and how much people are working month to month, hand to mouth. And so
David, fragile in terms of the financial and cash flow situation.
Financial side of things, people are saying, I've got to keep working because I need to pay the staff, and there's sort of, it just frightens me. And I don't think it's just landscaping, it's right the way across our economy. How many small to medium-sized businesses are so financially unstable, and certainly then this comes along. No one was expecting this, but it is a worry. But certainly, to answer the question, I think if there's an explanation, I don't think people should feel pressured by clients at all.
But financially, they feel pressured in a different way, that they have to do it to keep paying.
There is that financial pressure. I mean, slightly jumping the gun a bit, but speak to your bank manager. I'm lucky. I've got an absolutely fantastic bank manager at Lloyd's, and the full support I've got from them. I mean, this could go on for months, and so what's going to be the outcome of that? I don't know, but and therefore, if people, I think that will be the first industry certainly to start going back to work as the sort of peak starts to drop. I think, you know, we are in a position where we can social distance on certain tasks and projects. I mean, I guess particularly that's why the sort of bigger boys and grounds maintenance companies are carrying on, because they have got that opportunity. But I think for us, Paul said he's got the 12-acre site, but for us, the particular jobs we've got on at the moment, the social distancing was virtually impossible on a lot of the tasks which have to be completed.
Okay, Holly, what about you in terms of client pressure and cash flow system and the effect it has on the business?
Yeah, we're also surprised, same as David, how sort of unstable a lot of companies are, and I think a lot of people are saying because it's been so wet and everything that any contingencies they had have been used up. But all I can say to people is when you come out the other side of this, don't be tempted to drop your prices to get the work or anything like that. Hold your nerve, and because we're still worth the same, if not more now, to build back those contingencies again to keep going.
Okay, there's a couple more questions coming. One, Richard, I guess you can answer. Do you think the supply chain shut up too quickly? And I guess talking to quite a few people about 2008, 2009 recession, one of the things that stopped the industry getting back going as quick was the supply chain needed to catch up. How do you feel that the supply chain has reacted to this?
I think clearly it's everyone's own decisions here. Most of our suppliers have scaled back their operations, but they're still supplying goods. I think the builders merchants seemed to shut quite quickly, and then they got told to reopen by the government to supply key infrastructure products. It's a difficult one, you know. From ourselves, I asked all our skeleton staff individually if they wanted to come and support us keep the business running. They all pledged to us that they would stay at home during the weekends and do the social distancing, so they weren't our weak link in the business. But yeah, I think some people shot a bit too soon. I mean, we've been supplying landscapes for 25 years, and my first instance was we should be, if they want to buy off us, we should be there to supply them and support them, get their jobs done.
Another question that's come in here is in terms of the furlough staff. Would it be better just to reduce the number of people that you've got working rather than furlough staff? Tim, I don't know how you feel on that.
I think furlough is a difficult one. Some people seem to have accepted it and just taken that's the way forward. I mean, as I said earlier, we've had the opportunity to redeploy people and create some flexible working routes. So where people have had to change their childcare arrangements, we've been able to change the hours that we work and the flexibility in the days that we work. So where possible, I will try and avoid it. There are the people who need to be shielded that can be furloughed, and that makes absolute sense. But where possible, we have tried to avoid it in as many cases as we can.
Richard?
The whole point of furloughing was to avoid cutting staff numbers and making people redundant. It was there to support businesses in this current climate so they can return back to work when businesses or the economy or the country is allowed to go back to out of lockdown, back to work. So I think it's a bona fide scheme that clearly the vast majority of businesses have used across the country, and it's there for a purpose to keep people in work.
And Paul, have you looked at any of the other government schemes in terms of the interest-free loans for 12 months or any of those kind of systems?
No, No, I haven't really. Basically, when it first, I'd never, like many, I'd never even heard of the word furlough, and so I actually had to look it up and just see what it meant. And so I could see the scheme operating. I think in the first instance, like everybody, most staff, and you know, as an employee, you're concerned. And the first thing I said, well, look, if it goes on for the next 2-3 months. I said to my staff, we'll all stop, you'll still all get paid, don't worry about it, and we'll just carry on. And I'm sure, you know, that the scheme, I mean, the HMR scheme's still not up and running anyway, so we'll still be paying our guys salaries, they'll still getting paid full pay, so that at the end of the day, like one of the other questions, we've still got a client still keen for you to get on site. But again, clients come and go, but your teams, you want there for a good period of time. And my guys, some have been with me over 10 years. And so you want to make sure that you're a good employer, you're looking after the guys, you want their safety and, you know, health to be paramount. And so that you can kick off with your full contingent of staff at the end of this. So, yeah, the client is going to be slightly disappointed, but at the end of the day, you know, we're still going to build a nice garden for him. And you know, he'll still get there. With regards to the, you know, the finance side of things, I think one of the first things I did is actually I've got a really good, like Dave, I've got really good connections with my bank manager, and I just dropped her an email and just literally we just then had a chat on the phone and went through things. And yeah, I'm keen to get back to work just like everybody, because you know we had a poor January and February, but it's not the end of the world. I know that we'll still come out of this, and we'll just carry on. Really, I think we're as an industry we're quite a resilient one and resourceful one, and you know you learn new things quite quickly when you have to, and so that you can progress. And you know, I WhatsApp my guys most mornings. We've even had little, you know, although we all have online facilities so that we can all do health and safety and online training for the next 3 months if we have to, but they might find it a bit dull. But we've kind of, you know, I WhatsApp what plants have they got in the garden so that they can at least improve their plant ID while we're socialising. You get some quite interesting comments come back and stuff like that, but you just try to keep up that kind of, you know, connection, because you know this distancing is not good for everybody really. You do want people to be getting back on site and that social interaction, and you know at the end of the day you are a team, and suddenly you're no longer that team separates, so you do have that concerns of how things are going to progress, and you come out the other side, and you want to be in a stronger position, or at least a position where you can just, you know, catapult yourself back in. I do think the supply chain has shut down a little too quickly, and that's one of the issues. I think that one of the questions might have had is, although we could go on site and that client could get you on site, again, I wouldn't give in to a client's pressure, never have done, never will do, and then literally, but you can't get the materials there, so you're then running a false business. You're not going to be financially viable, so there's no point in doing it. So that's where we are really.
The cash flow in terms of some of the smaller landscapers and designers, if you've stopped all work, then you've got no cash flow coming in the business, and it's all, you know, some of the companies that have got, you know, a bit of history and a bit of a bit of trading and maybe a bit of financial support behind them. What about some of the smaller people that maybe do rely on day-to-day stuff a bit more?
The company's quite buoyant. You know, we've been very busy for a very long time, so I'm sort of not in that position. But I think the reality is of furloughing. It's one thing sort of furloughing staff. In 2008, 2009, when we had the kind of last financial crisis, there was a big contraction in the market, and you know, there was a reduction in demand for the services of the landscape industry, certainly in the domestic market. All the talk is that we are going to see a significantly greater contraction in the market. You know, the economy has taken a massive hit, and I think it's not. There's two things going on. There's one is, you know, it goes on for a few weeks and then we all start back again. But I don't think we'll be starting back in with the same demand for our services. There will be a big reduction, I think, just because the economy has taken a massive hit. So the furlough scheme is not going to go on forever. It's only going to go on for a short period of time. And at the end of that, if there has been a massive contraction in the market, which I think there will be big consequences for our industry. And I think it's very difficult. I think we have to kind of be prepared for that.
So do you think there will be a rush out of it with lots of work, and then maybe 6 months, 12 months down the line, we'll start seeing it slow up? Or do you think it will now just be at a slow pace, full stop, in terms of the work coming back?
So what I'm sort of seeing is that at the moment, some of our clients are holding steady. They are fine. Some of them have reduced their work. We've got some projects on site where clients are already starting to scale back the works that they want to they want to achieve. Some of them are sort of saying, oh, actually, we want the build to go ahead, but we want to wait and see what is going on. So I think, and then we have a couple of other clients who are kind of going, yeah, just crack on, it's all fine, and then they're not concerned at all, and they're obviously in a very different financial position. But I think that will change. Even our clients at the moment are feeling very comfortable. In 6 months' time, if the economies around the world and we're sort of seeing a global slowdown, that situation will definitely change. So I think it's something that we need to continue to monitor.
Okay, a question that's just come in. Tim, do you work in Scotland as well as in England?
Yes, we do, yeah.
And are you finding the regulations that are in Scotland a lot tighter than that they are in England in terms of what you can do and what you can't do?
Well, we're monitoring that closely. I think we were following all the guidance, the UK government guidance, and this is probably the first time we've really noticed that there's some variances, some local accents in the guidance, if you like. So no significant changes to the way that we're operating up there, and we're operating within the guidance for Scotland and for Wales and England as well.
Okay. And I'm just going to pick up on one of the points that came back about where I guess if there is going to be limited work, maybe medium to long term, and the pricing, where how confident are people to stick to their prices, and how, I don't know, I guess it's maybe for you, David, especially in that sort of top end domestic market, if that does reduce and there isn't so many people spending large sums on domestic gardens, do you think you'll come under pressure in terms of your pricing?
No, I completely agree with what Holly said. I think we've all got to hold our nerve. When you're in that market, it's a very privileged place to be, but you are in a position where, it's the same in recession, exactly the same in recession, that they're going to want the service, they're going to want the quality, and they're prepared to pay the price. So I think that there might be a little bit of sharpening of the pencil. A lot of our work isn't out to tender, but where it is, there might be a little bit of sharpening of the pencil, but we're sort of okay for work at the moment, and with inquiries coming in. And I can't believe the only problem I've got with this, all the staff are furloughed, but I'm absolutely flat out because I'm the last person having to do the quotes. Yeah. So, but no, we're certainly not looking at reducing prices at the moment at all.
So, Tom, do you think you'll come under pressure in terms of some of the contracts and the pricing?
No, I don't think we will. We've actually left a really full order book on pause and put everybody on furlough. So we think that there will be a bit of a gap probably when our clients pick themselves up and want us to quote. So we've left ourselves plenty of buffer for when everybody does return.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because all the schemes have been put in place and people taking advantage of them, and rightly so. But at the end of the day, that money is going to have to be paid back. The government aren't just going to keep printing additional money. So does I guess the panel feel that in time that is definitely going to have an impact in terms of where people are spending their budgets, where the money is being spent. Paul, start with you on that.
Yeah, I think like everybody, that the government will always want their money, even though they've just said you can stop paying your VAT. You think, oh, whoopee, but you still got to pay it at some point in time. But although this came upon us really suddenly, I think the payback will obviously have to be over a period of years as opposed to weeks and months that this may go on. So I think that's going to be the likelihood for a lot. and I do agree with Ellen and the rest, is the fact that there'll be a lag. You know, like Tom says, we've got a little a buffer of all the work that we're currently in, and that's priced and things. And again, we wouldn't drop our prices. We can all stay at home now and lose money, so there's no point in going out and going to the bottom. So you may as well keep your pricing, hold your nerve, and just go in at what you believe you're all worth, and carry on like that. So yeah, I think that lag will come, and I think it will be then where you've got this, you know, as I think I mentioned to you the other day, that we've had planning decisions which were due this week, which have now been put off till the end of June. So that's going to cause us, you know, we were hoping to crack on with that project in April, and obviously that's one that we'll have to shelve until we get a decision out of the local authority, so that we can crack on building their front garden, really. But I think that's just one aspect. If they're just stopping all of those applications and decisions on those, yeah, that's another aspect from the construction bit as well as landscape, where decisions aren't being given, that's going to cause a backlog. And obviously you're also going to get those individuals that we're still suffering from a little bit of Brexit mania. We've had clients where we'd done all the hard landscape and they'd postponed the soft landscaping element purely because they couldn't sell their other house, which there was, you know, apparently the £4 million house market had kind of slowed down during Brexit, and they couldn't sell their other house, so they put that on hold. And so you just kind of think, well, you've still got a soft landscaping project there, but who knows when that's going to happen? So you can't really rely on that. So the new stuff coming in, as Ellen says, I think is going to be they'll take stock, because a lot of the people that you're working in this industry, especially at the high end, selling and are reliant on property investments, overseas business, and so you will see a little downturn there. And I think that's, you know, 6 to 12 months time down the line, I think we might see a little change on the kind of landscape as we know it.
Do you feel that the landscaping sector is going to have a little bit of a downturn? Maybe not straight away, but 18 months, year down the line?
I think we will definitely be budgeting to go backwards next year by about 10%, just to 20% taking away this year's growth. Last credit crunch 2008, we found that there was a lot of obviously hysteria in the market, and credit was withdrawn from people, but projects had to be finished. So we found 6 months later down the line, the workflow was still there, and then we caught up, because we're typically the end of projects. But I do think the market will contract a little bit until people take stock. It'd be interesting to see if the government, having spent all this money on the crisis, continue their manifesto in supporting infrastructure schemes, or to divert that to the current payments. But yeah, we're preparing to scale back the business a little bit.
Tom, how do you feel the industry is going to be over 6, 12 months, 18 months?
Actually, from one of the questions that I've just seen, absolutely fascinating, someone has just raised a very good point, the fact that potentially the market will grow. There is no greater time when people need their gardens as now, and potentially, certainly in the domestic sector, we might see a real bounce and the market grow. We'll just have to see, but I'm certainly not in the slightest bit worried about consolidation or people waiting. I think that we'll bounce back from this actually very quickly, and I've got no intention of dropping my prices.
Just coming, I guess you're more obvious to answer it in terms of designers. How are you dealing with new inquiries and surveying sites? How are you dealing with that at the moment?
So so what Tom was saying is, I do think this is absolutely a time where people are starting to really understand and value their outdoor space. You turn the radio on and people talk about, oh, I'm getting through this because I'm in my garden, or if a public park is being closed down, it's really hitting home. So I absolutely think that this is a time when people are really starting to understand and value their gardens and their green spaces. They realise that it's very much human habitat. So I think that is a really positive thing. I just think the reality of it is that you know, people are losing they will lose their jobs, and I think that there will be a downturn in the economy. So I think that there's going to be this kind of odd thing that we're seeing huge demand and understanding in the valuing outdoor space, but also the economic impact. Sue's question about kind of what are we doing with new inquiries, bizarrely, we are still getting a lot of inquiries coming through. The week of the lockdown, I put out 2 proposals, and both clients signed up to them, and we have got the surveys done, and the surveyors have gone out. We've had new inquiries, and at the moment I'm doing them by phone and Zoom for those new inquiries. But the bit that I'm kind of doing at the moment is my site analysis. So I know that there are some designers that are doing site analysis with photos and videos from clients. I don't really feel comfortable doing that. So I have a bit of a waiting list at the moment for design anyway. So site analysis at the moment, I'm just deferring, and I'm not running out to do those, and I will be making those decisions sort of when, you know, I have the time to do those designs. What I would prefer to do, and what the site analysis that was booked in for yesterday, I spoke to the client and I said, you know, I'll come to site and I'll do my site analysis, but you know, well, basically I need to have access to the garden without you being there. Please don't offer me a cup of tea and coffee. And we went through all of those things. So so that's what I'm doing with site analysis for the projects that are sort of currently running. My designs I'm presenting via Zoom actually, and that's working. Zoom's working well for the design presentations, but obviously, you know, I don't believe that I can do a really good job on site analysis unless I actually go to site. And so actually I'm discussing with clients what I do. We had one client who they wanted to they didn't feel comfortable with doing that. They wanted to kind of come out and walk around with me when I was doing my site analysis and discussions. That would have meant that there were 3 people, and I didn't feel particularly comfortable because the issues of social distancing. So actually that whole project's been postponed. So I'm seeing a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, so a lot of positive for Tom's upbeat punch on the industry, which is good. I think, Tim, you wanted to come back on the financial side?
Well, no, I think I can sort of echo what Tom was saying. Actually, we are a super resilient industry. You know, we always bounce back. There's always a requirement for what we do. And we might have some short-term pain in the industry in the sectors that we work in, but there's going to be you know, we will bounce back out of it. There might be a delay in some works. In fact, one of my colleagues is on watching in. I'm sure he's just texted me to say he's going to double his sales target this year. I can't quite read what he said, but you know, well done, Paul. Thank you for that. So he probably hasn't that at all, actually. But I genuinely think there's going to be a big sort of focus on well-being, outdoor space, greenery. You know, it's what people are craving at the moment. So we should all get some confidence, get some optimism, and get out there and, you know, drive this industry forward.
Holly, you optimistic about the future?
Yeah, we are really. We feel quite energised, weirdly, about new ideas and a new focus maybe moving forward and how we can change things. And we're ready for a challenge, I think.
What's happening with the training academy at the moment? Then is that gone into hibernation or?
It has to a certain extent, but we're working behind the scenes on a lot of things that we could be doing in the future. So yeah, watch this space. Okay,
I'm really conscious of time now, so I'm going to try and give you all one more chance at a bit of limelight here. But there's going to be 2 or 3 different parts of it. So in terms of, I guess, what have you learned? What have you had to do in this time that you think might be a really good thing to go forward with, i.e. Zoom, maybe a much better way than having to travel up to London to present, etc. And then the last part of the third thing on this is, as an industry, what do we all need to do collectively to make sure that we remain strong, we come out stronger, and we don't shoot ourselves in the foot? So, Paul, I'm going to start with you, if you can, on that. We've all got about 2 minutes each on this.
Well, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think we've all said that we all value each other and value what we do, and we're all going to hold us prices. So I think that's one good thing, because no one wants to race to the bottom. So I think that's one thing that I think has given me confidence here, listening to the rest of you, to say, great, that's exactly how I've always wanted to be. And so I think as we move forward, we will do. I've learned a lot more digital kind of skills, as you can see with my background in the back. So, and I think as we go forward with the social media content and the things, people are looking at their gardens, and they are in them a lot more, and so they do like to see nice images, and it is a lot like that. So for me, from on the design side, I think that's been a really good, useful learner, and we're concentrating on a lot of the design as we move forward. But you will still need those highly skilled guys to implement them, and so I think on the upturn, I think it's put a lot of emphasis on our industry, and I think collaboration between all the organisations is always a key and will always help us move forward. And I think this would be a fantastic stepping stone to make it even higher.
Okay, Holly?
Yeah, I completely mirror what Paul says, really. I think we'll be embracing technology a bit more, and yes, less travelling around, bring it on. It seemed like we're always travelling all over the place, and a lot of meetings could be done with clients over Zoom as well. Value engineering, I think people will be looking at a lot more, not dropping prices, but finding better ways, cheaper ways to install without compromising on quality.
Okay, and the industry, what does the industry need to do in terms of working together as deputy, the first female deputy of the APL?
I think we are. We're really realising now that working together and building relationships amongst peers in the industry is where it's at, and this whole crisis is really helping that.
Okay, Richard.
We're definitely looking to survive and thrive through this, and we are an optimistic business. I think the lessons we've learned so far is that we're committed to technology work. People can work from home, and it's also an easy way for expansion. If you don't need people in the offices, they can work from home. Reduce your overheads. So I think going forward will be good. As regards what the industry to do is keep on the collaboration. Obviously, I work with Barley. They've put some good content out over the last few weeks, advising people on their various platforms, and clearly taking some notes from the previous webinar. There's clearly more the association can do in helping businesses as we climb out of this COVID-19 situation we're in, supporting our trade members along the way.
Okay, Tim.
I think lessons learned in a crisis. You've got to give clear direction, regular updated communications to all your people, and sometimes you've got to deliver some pretty tough messages to people, and that's all part of leadership. So that's been a skill that many of us in our business have excelled at over the past 2 or 3 weeks. I think the working from home thing comes up from everybody, actually, and we're a large organisation. I thought I was fairly open about people working from home. Maybe we'll take that to the next level going forwards and look at changing the way that we operate our offices, and maybe we don't need so much space. So that might be a change to the business going forwards. I think it's the industry. We have got to work together, and there will be some pressure from customers on price and on speed of delivery, and we'll be looking at our supply partners to make sure that they can support us on that. And please let's have some optimism and come out of this and keep this industry working really well and supporting my claim to strong resilience as well.
Excellent. Tom.
Well, yesterday at a time when nearly one person died every single minute in the UK. There is an awful lot more to life than business at the moment. And whilst it's important we consider whether to work or not work, it's important to just consider what's going on in our hospitals at the moment and what everybody's going through. I think that this awful circumstance is really bringing out the very best in people, and it's amazing to see that's happening. I think that we'll probably see less pressure on infrastructure permanently, which would be a real positive that comes from this. And I think that we'll see an accelerated trend of what was already happening with us all using technology as we are. I think that people will respect outdoor space and want to use it more than ever. And I think that will really, really help us across all parts of our industry. And I guess finally, for us as a business, and I'm sure for everybody else, it's really brought our people together. Having this shared horrible thing that's going on at the moment has brought our team closer than ever, and I think has done wonders for making people remember what really counts in business life. And finally, it's brought us together. So thank you all very much.
Well done, thank you. Helen?
There's a lovely expression about bringing up children as that it takes a village to raise a child, and I think that's absolutely true. And creating a garden is exactly the same. It takes every single person here, you know, that you can see on the panel, plus a lot of people who've seen, you know, I might design it, I don't build it, I don't supply it. So as ever, teamwork, lots of people working together. I think the industry does that really well. I think it needs to continue to do exactly what it does brilliantly, and it should continue to do so. And I think it will. I think it is a resilient. There are amazing people in our industry, and people will bounce back, and there will be a continuing demand and, as Tom says, more appreciation of outdoor space. The technology thing I think is really interesting, because the one thing that I massively miss is sitting with people. And while, yes, there are times when we can continue to work with Zoom, and there are times when I think I would probably use it where I wouldn't have done in the past. But I would absolutely, I love sitting with my clients and talking to them. I love going onto site and chatting to contractors and speaking to the guys and getting involved in all of those things. So the thing that actually this has taught me, apart from the, you know, never take anything for granted, health, people that you love and all of those things, is that actually I really love people and being around people and doing all of those things, because I think that's fundamentally that's what it's all about actually. So yes, Zoom technology is a useful thing, but it can't replace human contact. That for me is the most important thing. That's why we're all here. It's the bit that makes me get up in the morning. So whether they're my family, friends, people, the lovely people I get to work with, and my lovely clients. So you know, yes, I want to go back to sitting and talking to people.
Lovely. So, David, the final word for you then, David.
Well, don't talk to me about technology. I can't even make the bloody camera. So I look in envy at Paul's lovely display background there, and yeah. So anyway, but it's interesting. What I've learned is the working from home thing. I wasn't actually. I think the opposite of what Tim said. I wasn't that open to people. Staff working from home, but oh my word, the amount of work I can get done. I've got my old office door to my house, and it's marvellous, and without distraction, how much productive work I can get done without distraction, and it's great. I think the important thing is that our staff, this is a very alien environment to them, not being outside, not working, and I think that we've really got to look after them and support them at the moment, making sure, regularly phoning them. We've got a WhatsApp group, we're making each other laugh still, we're sending stupid videos, and they've still got that site banter going. Some of it appropriate, some less appropriate. They're still laughing, and that's a very important. And so I think it's absolutely critical to support the staff now while they're away. Like I say, what are they going to be like if this does go on for a long time? I'd like to reiterate what Tom said. Completely agree with him. The thing which, I mean, obviously I'm married to an NHS midwife who's in the front line in the hospitals. You know, there is more to life than money. People are dying, and we have to put that first. before business and before anything else. So that's absolutely critical. And again, positively, this is the interesting thing about having the two. I look at the online sales of pots and Pithoi. People are so interested in their gardens. And to finish on the positive note, I think that we are going to be greatly in demand. Happened a better stroke worse time of year, especially after all the rain we've had, but people are going to be so appreciative of their own personal outside space. I think we could be doing very, very well out of this.
Okay, lovely. And I'm just going to add, I think the industry with people like you, people listening, and also the panel is in great shape, in great hands, and I'm really, really pleased that we can be part of it, and I really appreciate everyone's time and effort to making it such a good industry. And like you, Helen, I love all this and everything we're doing, but actually getting everyone together, finding out what's going on, looking at things, touching things, feeling things is great. But thank you all very much. Thank you very much, panel. Excellent. Thank you.